am the ballad sings. And my voice is of the streets and the cantinas and the dance halls and all the places where I am heard. For I am the soul of the common people that sings of tragedies and melancholy, but also happiness. Ahora, muchachos, adentro! One of my primary inspirations was Bertolt Brecht, who used to, in the 1920s, put together small plays, which in German, I believe, are called Lernstücke, learning plays. And I've never had a problem trying to teach people through the use of the theater. As a matter of fact, I've taught in the classroom, and any classroom teacher will tell you, you have to act in order to keep your students interested. So that merging of theater with teaching and learning is a very natural collaboration. And my plays at the very beginning, when I started working with Cesar Chavez for the farm workers, were learning plays.
I am Joaquin. The odds are great, but my spirit is strong. My faith unbreakable. My blood is pure. I am Aztec prince and Christian Christ I shall endure. I will endure.
We are El Teatro Campesino, the farm workers' theater of Delano, of the Great Strike, of the Chicano movement, of the Raza, the farm workers' theater of Aztlán, of the Southwest, of America, of the earth, the farm workers' theater of the universe.
What's happening?
Perhaps the best-known work of Luis Valdez is his screenplay and direction of La Bamba. And most significant, his play, ZOOT, which he premiered in a sellout Los Angeles production, took to Broadway, and turned into a movie in 1981.
Hey man, you call that dancing?
Doing ZOOT with Luis Valdez was literally the launching point of my artistic understanding. Working with Luis at that point was quite an experience. It was like nothing I'd ever gone through before because there had really never been a playwright of this stature.
ZOOT remains the only play ever written and directed by a Chicana or a Chicano on Broadway.
Canto alegrías, tragedias y penas.
Henry, I am so embarrassed I could spit. Now, do you honestly think that those people killed my firstborn son?
You want to see my green card, Mr. Citizen? I'll show you my green card!
Ready? Aim! Fire!
After you, Padre.
No, my son, after you.
No, please,
after you, my son.
And through it all, sharing the hard times and the triumphs, right by his side has been his partner in theater and in life, Lupe Valdez.
I tell Lupe, and she's approaching 60, but the thing is that I tell her, you'll always be 24 to me. Seriously, she's always going to be 24 to me, and it doesn't matter what happens. I have a very intense relationship with my sons. As a father, And I must say, also as a brother almost, and the very issues in this play, is he my father, is he my brother, reflects my way of life. I don't consider myself to be superior to my sons just because I was, you know, they're fruit of my loins, you know. They're my equals, I'm their equal. I mean, I hope that they can see my humanity, they can see my struggles. I certainly consult them now. They're my colleagues in the work. They're my partners in the Teatro Campesino.
I do think of my father as a pioneer, somebody who's carved the space. But I think the legacy he's given us is a path to walk on when none existed before.
So plays are like kernels of corn, you know. They have found ancient kernels of corn in the Americas. All you have to do is add water and you can make tortillas, you know, you got it.
And so, amigos, el corrido goes on. It shall remember even you and me. Adios, amigos.
50 years ago, El Teatro Campesino was in its second year. We had started on the picket lines with the Delano grape strike. I went to Cesar and pitched him an idea of a theater up by and for farm workers. You've seen the video. But the fact is that we were starting with nothing. He said, there's no money to do theater, there are no actors, there's no stage. Do you still want to do it? I said, seguro, como que no? What an opportunity. So the Teatro Campesino was born on the picket lines of the Delano grape strike. Okay? So 2 years later, we separated officially from the union and established El Centro Campesino Cultural in Del Rey, California. It was another little town lost in the vineyards, but what were we trying to do? We were trying to introduce the power of the arts directly to the campesinos. We had been doing that in the grape strike, but the union was so involved in fighting the boycott and the strike that we couldn't really get as much done as we wanted to in terms of the war in Vietnam. We wanted to counter the war in Vietnam. We wanted to talk about racism in the schools, and we wanted to talk about culture in general. So we had to separate from the union officially, not without separating from the causa, but we started El Centro Campesino Cultural in Del Rey, and then decided that what we were going to do is to take the power of the arts and give it directly to people, campesinos. Everybody understands music, so if you teach people how to play a guitar or play a musical instrument, they'll go with it. That song that you were hearing, you're singing that Noe and the other song, De Colores. Do you know that song, De Colores?
Los campos en la primavera. De colores.
When I was chasing Cesar to pitch him the idea of a theater up by and for farm workers, I went to a rally in the Mission District in San Francisco, and he was really surrounded by people. I couldn't really talk to him, so I chased him. You know, I hitched a ride and went over the Bay Bridge, over to Oakland, to St. Elizabeth Church in the Fruitvale District. And there, finally, about 11 o'clock at night, in the basement, they were having a cursillista meeting, and as we went in there, they were singing this song. It was De Colores. It was a beautiful song. But I waited until the meeting was over, and then finally, close to midnight, I got my chance to talk to Cesar, and I pitched him the idea, and he said, of course, you can come, but there's no money, there are no actors, there's no place to rehearse. Do you still want to do it? Absolutely, Cesar. 2 weeks later, I'm in Delano. A week later, I'm in Delano. But 2 weeks later, he approaches me before a meeting, and he says, you remember that song that they were singing in Oakland? I said, yeah, could you guys sing it? I had met Agustin Lira by then. He played the guitar. Could you guys sing this song at the next meeting? So he gave us the words, and that became then the anthem of the farm workers, De Colores.
Y por eso, grandes amores, muchos colores me gustan a mí.
The song is about colors. De colores se guste visten los campos en la primavera. The landscape dresses itself in colors during the springtime. The colors of the birds, the colors of nature. It's talking about the beauty of colors. And what we're talking about now, in our time, is the beauty of the colors of diversity of people. And when you look around and you see America as it is today, very different than the America that I was born into, very different than the America that my relatives came to. It wasn't even America then, it was just the Southwest. They were in America already. Mexico is in America. They didn't come to America. We've always been America. We are America. So we travel 50 miles and suddenly we become Americans? No. But the thing is that it was very different then. It was white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant California than now. Now it's a rainbow. Now it's de colores. Now you see people of every background in California. We're a wealth, we're a treasure house of human beings and human diversity. And this is our power. And until just a few months ago, I thought we were sharing the same dream. I was under the impression that we were going to have our first woman president. Because one of the movements that's been happening in my lifetime has been the liberation of womanhood. Liberation of womanhood from slavery, liberation of womanhood from oppression and from demeaning machismo. That's been going on. It didn't just start yesterday. It's been going on all my lifetime. Way before I was born, it started way back maybe hundreds of years ago. Maybe Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz started something in Mexico, the nun. Maybe she started something in the 16th century. But I'm sure there have been women warriors going all the way back. It's just that they've never been acknowledged. But now, we're acknowledging them. And I thought until the last election, last fall, that we were going to have the first woman president in the United States of America. But it didn't happen. What happened? A mask fell over everything. A mask fell over everything. And that mask was a lie. That mask was trying to convince us that progress has not happened, that we don't come in colors, that the things that Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Rosa Parks and so many people that have struggled for human rights and decency in this country, all those people, what they have achieved, somebody's trying to cover over and convince you that it didn't happen. That no, we're going backwards. We're going back to the 50s. We're even going back to the turn of the century. We're going back to the racist practices of the 19th century. No, that's not going to happen. And that is not what is happening. What's happening is that we've been overlaid with a mask, a lie, because we are now in the process of the biggest paradigm shift that the human race has known in the last 1,000 years, perhaps. Actually, in the last 26,000 years, but I won't go into the detail. Our Mayan ancestors described it a long time ago. This became our symbol. Andy Cermeño drew this for us, but El Teatro Campesino had cuatro movimiento, and we decided that with the literacy of the Maya, we're going to continue the literacy of the Maya, which is thousands of years old, goes back to 3000 BC, when the Mayan calendar was invented. The Maya were literate. This is drama, the three faces, but it's really the mestizaje. El indígena, mixing. We used to use this symbol in the 60s with the Chicanos. This is media. This is the smoking mirror. This is the moviola. But it's the image of us working high tech. And this is recording. This is music. So already in 1967, when we established the Centro Campesino Cultural, we were envisioning the importance of the arts. We said that what we need to do is have an organization that can give people the power of the written word directly. They don't have to go to school. They don't even have to know how to read and write. And some of the members of El Teatro Campesino didn't even know how to read and write. Eran analfabetos. They didn't know how to read and write. But they learned. They learned both English and Spanish in the teatro. They also learned how to handle cameras. And they learned how to record stuff. They learned how to compose music. You know what? We're all creators. We're all creative beings. We're not hunks of meat. We're not slaves. We're not mano de obra. We're human beings. The Mayas called us Huiniklil. Huiniklil means vibrant being. Un ser que vibra con el universo. A being that vibrates with the universe. And this is what was happening in the Chicano movement. What distinguishes the Chicano movement from other movements? I'll tell you one very simple thing. The Chicano movement was insisting that we have an indigenous root in America. That's what it was saying. Let's go back to our original ancestors and look at the roots. That's not to deny Spain. That's not to deny Europe. That's not to deny Asia. That's not to deny Africa. As a matter of fact, we integrate all of that. They're part of the raza too. But the thing is that we need to go back to the original native root, which is the indígenas. So El Teatro Campesino continues to perform these elements that are the basic roots of our culture. These puppets are from El Popol Vuh, something that was put together, but you can see the importance of corn. White corn, blue corn, yellow corn. This is going back to the roots again. Why is this important in this highly technological society? Why should you even bother to learn about this stuff? Why should you even bother to consider Chicano culture if you're going into American culture? Because you are the root. Because you are bringing something very important. Because this is a paradigm shift in our history now. The world ended in the 90s. The world came to an end, technically, in 2012, when El Quinto Sol died. It was over. El Quinto Sol was over on December 31st, 2012. We are now 5 years into El Sexto Sol. And things are coming at us so fast. Not just in terms of the weather, which is amazing, the huracanes, the floods, the droughts, the fires. It's not only coming at us at full speed, it's also happening in human beings that we are changing. Human beings are changing. We're a whole part of a paradigmic switch. History is beginning to pivot, and we're part of that pivot. So don't get lost, and don't be confused by the mask, the smokescreen that Donald Trump represents. He's the mask. They're trying to convince you that the history of the last 100 years has not happened, but it has happened. And a lot of you that are students here in City College, you are here. Your grandparents couldn't be here. Maybe your parents couldn't even be here. Maybe even your older siblings couldn't be here, but you're here. And you're on your way now to higher ed. Y ya cuando te eduques, no te pueden quitar lo que has aprendido. Once you have learned, they can't take away what you know. You know this. And this is part of your paradigmic switch. You are part of that pivot. Don't forget that. Part of this paradigm switch that we're going to has to do with the way that we communicate. Facebook has been revealed to be a tremendous boon to humanity and a means of communicating, but it's also a weapon against us. It was used in this last election. It will be continued to be used by those that are unscrupulous and evil and don't give a shit. But we can protect ourselves. That doesn't mean we have to get off of Facebook. It's that we need to insist that Facebook be better and more secure. That we need to communicate with each other. As we need to communicate across the world. If an earthquake happens in Mexico, we know about it instantly. If it happens in Bangladesh, también, we know about it instantly. We're in a different world now. This is El Sexto Sol. This is the global village. Marshall McLuhan used to write about it back in the 60s. We used to read about it. We're living it. We're in the global village. And in order to be in the global village, you have to be multilingual. I know you're in school. You know, when I went to school, my dad gave me a scholarship. He had no money. He was a farm worker. He worked in the fields here. I worked in the fields here. There used to be orchards out here. I picked a lot of prunes and a lot of apricots and a lot of cherries in this valley, and tomatoes and beans and so forth. This used to be a campesino area. It's now Silicon Valley. Who would have known? 50 years ago, we didn't know that. We didn't see Silicon Valley coming, but it became that. Okay, fine. My dad wanted to help me to go to college. I got a scholarship, but I got a scholarship from my dad, too. You know what his scholarship was? He said, "Mijo, don't worry about your brothers and sisters." Because you see, in Mexican tradition, as you may know, if you're the older brother, it's your responsibility to help support your younger brothers and sisters. I felt that responsibility. I had an older brother who had the same responsibility. You know what my dad said? My dad said, "You guys go to college and support yourselves. I'll take care of your brothers and sisters." And we had 10 behind us. And so he said, "Go to college, mijo. I'll take care of your brothers and sisters." That was his scholarship to me. and to my brother. And I'll always be grateful for that because my dad only went to the 5th grade. His dad died when he was 12. So he became the support of his brothers and sisters and our family. But you know, it was on his back that I went to school. It was on his back that I made it through high school and I made it through college, even though I had to support myself. But the fact is that it's part of the switch. It's part of the advance of the last 100 years. It's part of the progress of the last 100 years. If your family has been through hell, but you are here now, you've made it. You are here now. And now you need to take what you're learning here and to apply it to your reality. So for that purpose, I'm going to give you a scholarship. Not money. Better than money. Beca. I'm going to break it down to 4 words. Beca. What does the B represent? The B represents bilingual, bicultural education. Okay? You still get a lot of claptrap from people who say, no, monolingual, English only. That's bull. That's not where it needs to go. It's already been shown that we have 2 hemispheres, the left and right hemisphere of the brain, and that being bilingual helps the synapses of the brain that you go back and forth. Porque puedes hablar una frase en español media parte and the other half in English. You know what I'm saying? Or mix it, mezclarlo, you know, create new words. No foques conmigo, carnal, you know? That's bilingualism, you know, Chicano bilingualism, you know? And so the thing is, you need to take that power and augment it. It doesn't matter if you speak Spanish or English or Korean and Japanese or Chinese and French, doesn't matter. 2 languages just to start with. Help your brain to function better. And so this is why Chicano studies and the study of bilingualism has to spread not just from the colleges, but into high schools and all the way down to all the preschool. And I have little nephews, grandnephews, and nieces now that are in preschool and they're studying bilingually. That's progress. That is progress. But remember, it's not just Spanish and English. There's a lot of Chinese-speaking people out there. They need people to understand Arabic. And if you're a Chicano and know some Spanish, or a Chicana and know some Chicanix, okay? It's a little weird for me, okay? Chicanix, okay, there we go. If you can speak Spanish and English, then you can probably learn other languages. Go for Tagalog. Start speaking Filipino. You know, or Arabic, because Arabic has a lot of Spanish words in it. Camisa, dalisa, carnal. You know what I mean? These are all related, but I'm thinking that Chicanos, those people that are Latinos, so forth, have a tremendous advantage in the sense that bilingualism is able then to introduce them to the rest of the world. And if you can speak the pure vowels, a, e, I, o, u, then you can speak Japanese, you can speak Arabic, you can go anywhere. Eventually, you have that capacity. That's an advantage for you. So bilingual, bicultural education. Biculture is very important. Don't get stuck on just one culture. Many cultures, many cultures. And the benefit of being here in California and in America as a whole now is that we can become Asian if we want to. When I was a kid, ¿qué era sushi? I don't know, you know. Algo sucio, you know, sushi. Sushi, you know. But we learned sushi, why not? You get sushi con salsa now if you want it, you know, there it is, you know. And that's great, but the fact is that it's the whole world. Grab it, Europe. I have nothing against Anglos. They're not all Anglos. But look like Anglos, maybe they're not all Anglos. They're not all English. There's got to be a few Bavarians out there, you know, Lithuanians, Polish. You know, what about that? Romanians, Russians. I mean, all of that. You got to break the world down into its basics. And here in California, we can do that because we have huge little Russias and little Armenias and little Tokyos and little Vietnams, and we have all of that. We have an opportunity to learn about each other and the whole human race. And Mexico is no different. Mexico is fully integrated as well. A whole of America is integrated. So this is part of the whole paradigm shift. Be prepared for the future that is on us now. Bilingual, bicultural education. Economic independence, that's really important, okay? That's the E, BECA, E. Economic independence, don't get caught up in the credit system. I know that we're paying a lot for our education. I believe in public universities. I believe university education should be for free. I think everybody should be able to go to the major universities and not pay a cent. Now, a lot of people don't believe that.
because our economic system is such that it wants to privatize everything. And the biggest sin of all is the fact that they want to privatize health care, that they have privatized health care, when health care should be an absolute human right that is available to everybody. But we have to fight for that, okay? Economic independence. The C is creative discipline. That in order to be creative, you have to believe in something, but you also have to be disciplined to get it done. You have to stick with it. El Teatro Campesino is now in its 52nd year. We've been deciding for 52 years where to place our priorities. We decided not to spend a lot of money in our buildings. We're not that kind of an organization. So we're in a packing shed, a converted packing shed. We try to get as much cash into the hands of our actors and technicians and people as possible. We still don't pay a living wage. It's still a labor of love. But that's the way it is at the grassroots, is that we want people to sacrifice a little bit because it has to be a labor of love. But that means that you don't get to build big buildings, you know. Other people can build big buildings. What we're focused on is the ability to be able to focus on where we are today. El Teatro Campesino continues to go. Creative discipline. Stick with it. And A is artistic excellence, okay? That we have to be the best that we can be. Go for it. And if there's anything, if you're Mexicano, one of the things that you can be proud of is the artistry in your background. The Mayas, the way that they worked up their hieroglyphics, those were works of art. And this is on a global scale. It's there with all the other beautiful art of the world. But the Mayas were incredible designers, and they were incredible mathematicians, and they were incredible architects, and they were astronomers. What happened to that route? Did it get lost, or did it progress? Are some of you the next big thing that's going to happen in Silicon Valley? Are any of you going into engineering? I was a math major. I love math. A straight A math major. I have to mention that because I don't look like a straight A math major, okay? I don't even look like I can speak English, you know, but people came up to me, can you speak English? Can you speak English? So I decided, como que no, cabrón? I'm an English major, you know? I wanted to speak English. Yes, I want to speak the King's English. I wanted to speak it without an accent, or at least my own accent. So I did that. But then I went on. I also like numbers. And so do you. And so we like the sciences. And we need doctors, and we need lawyers, and we need people of every stripe in every level. But don't let anyone convince you that we're back in the 50s now, or that we're back in the 19th century. That's bull. We're in the sexto sol, and we're moving forward. And if there wasn't a swamp in the White House, there's one now, okay? And the biggest snake is sitting in the Oval Office. And he needs to go because he's an illusion. He's nothing. He's an illusion. He's an aberration. Unfortunately, he reflects a lot of people that are still in this country living in the 19th century. They want to go back to slavery. They think it's nothing to enslave people of color or women, or to use women as objects of their own whatever. All of that's past now. We're into a whole new era now. But we have to stand up for our rights. And the new generations have to pick up the torch and say, I'm going to light my path and go forward. And I'm going to do it with education, and I'm going to do it with creativity, because once you begin to create, you discover the essence of what it means to be human. As the Maya said, we are vibrant beings, uniquely. We practice menya, which is the Mayan word for work. It means creer, crear, hacer, con amor y dolor. That's work, creative work. Creer es crear. Crear es hacer. Con amor y dolor. That's the Mayans described it. But the most infamous and famous and beautiful concept is inlak ech. Tú eres mi otro yo. You are my other self. If I love and respect you, I love and respect myself. Si te hago daño a ti, me hago daño a mí. If I do harm to you, I do harm to myself. Si te amo y te respeto a ti, me amo y me respeto yo. That thought was being taught in Arizona in a local high school in Tucson, and it was banned. The authorities in Arizona, the ignoramuses in Arizona said, we don't want that taught. Are you kidding me? You are my other self? That is the essence of our unity. Once we realize that you are not a separate person, you're an extension of me. I am an extension of you. And that's really my message to all of you. I came from the lowest of the low, but thank God I had my parents who were willing to sacrifice for their kids and for themselves. And that's what we must do. Every generation is prepare the ground for the next generation. 50 years, 52 years now del Teatro Campesino, I suspect that the new generation will keep it going. Maybe some of you will be involved. We're not that far away. We are in San Juan Bautista. We've been there since 1971. We continue to present La Virgen del Tepeyac on some years, even-numbered years, and La Pastorela, that's this year, in the Mission San Juan Bautista. Why? Because El San Juan Bautista has been there since 1797. George Washington was president of the United States still when the cornerstone of the mission of San Juan Bautista was laid. El pueblo de San José de Guadalupe already existed. It had been here for a few years. Our history goes back before the origins of the United States of America. And if we go back to our ancient Mayan ancestors, we've been here for 10 to 20,000 years. And we've been making progress. There have been some setbacks. Smallpox almost wiped us out when the Spanish arrived. There were over 100 million, there were 100 million people in the Americas. Smallpox wiped out most of them. It took until the 20th century for Mexico to have 100 million people again. So many people it can't employ everybody, so they came to the other Mexico, this Mexico, what used to be Mexico. And one of the days, this country will admit it. They won't be ashamed of it. They won't try to ignore it because it is a rich thing. It is a bridge between indigenous America and the America of the future. But you are that America. You are the ones that will lead the way. Through your creativity, look into your hearts. Because, it is through the heart that you get to the mind. Through the heart that you reach the brain. The Mayas knew this. So I'm going to finish with a little poem. A poem written by Netzahualcoyotl, Prince of Texcoco. And this is a poem that I will recite in 3 languages. 3 languages that still exist and are spoken in the Americas. First language is Nahuatl. That's the Aztec language. Tlein mash tikilamikia kan machinemian moyolo ikti muyol se semana awik patikwika timuyol popoloa. Intlaltik pa kan mach titlal tiu. And now in Spanish. ¿Qué era lo que acaso tu mente hallaba? ¿Dónde andaba tu corazón? Por esto das tu corazón a cada cosa, sin rumbo lo llevas. Vas destrozando tu corazón. Sobre la tierra, ¿acaso puedes ir en pos de algo? And now in English, what is it that your mind was looking for? Where's your heart? For this you give your heart to everything. Your heart is without direction. You are destroying your heart. On this earth, do you suppose that you could ever go in search of anything and find it? So the message here is for our times that are so roiled by ideology, where we try to impose something from the mind on top of the heart, we need to go the other way. Come from the heart into the mind and be compassionate. This is not the time for ideology. This is a time for human compassion and human understanding and the acceptance of the equality of every member of the human race with any other member of the human race. So what is the message to America? America, America, find your heart and you'll be free. Thank you.